Welcome to the Life.Money Financial Literacy webinar. We're going to walk you through some things today, give you some tips, give you some tools that are going to help you in your approach to financial literacy. Whether you're a middle school teacher, whether you're at high school level, whether you're doing financial literacy as part of your curriculum or a standalone class, we're going to help identify what we can do to help your specific situation. As a result of Senate Bill 311 and House Bill 1, financial literacy has created somewhat of a matrix of uniques. What do I mean by that? Financial literacy has created a grid of teachers that are all in the same field but have different scenarios. Some educators have middle school financial literacy or high school financial literacy. Some come from a scenario where they have funding available for materials. Some come from a scenario where they don't have any funding available for materials. And it becomes very tricky to navigate. How do we make the financial literacy initiative successful in your unique scenario? Financial literacy has kind of been a curveball for a lot of educators where they might not have a financial literacy background or training in that field. And so they might not feel 100% comfortable in teaching that information. Or they're scrounging around, searching the web high and low, looking for financial literacy materials that make sense for their scenario, their students, and their classroom. We're going to help you with that. We're going to walk you through and identify your specific scenario, help you with some tools to equip you with greater confidence to bring financial literacy to your classroom. And so our goal is simple. Our goal is to help you remove some of that extra research work, some of that extra grind work off your plate. What do we mean by that? Well, typically, financial literacy teachers, family consumer sciences teachers, are spending a lot of time researching and reading and building their own curriculum from ad hoc. We want to help remove some of that work off your table, off your plate, so you can be greater focused on how you're going to engage students, measure your success, and feel more confident in teaching financial literacy. Let's take a second and identify the power of a single seed. What can that seed really accomplish? Well, let's take a break and picture in your mind a field, a cornfield, a vast, huge cornfield. And you're standing there facing this cornfield. It's a beautiful Ohio day, and you are looking over this vast stretch of cornfield. Now let's pretend that you begin to rise up. Let's say you're in a hot air balloon. And if you're afraid of heights, well, just bear with us and we'll get through this together. But you're rising up in the air in a hot air balloon, and as you get higher and higher, you begin to see the cornfield take shape, and this wide expanse. And as a result of that expanse, you begin to see the parameters of that cornfield, that rows and rows of corn are developing, that acres and acres of this field are beginning to enter your vision. Let me ask you a question. How purposeful do you think the farmer was in designing that cornfield? What do you think the intentions of the farmer were when he was putting seed in the field, when he was cultivating the field? How do you think he went about that process? Did he take time identifying what would be best? Did he take time looking at different seed, different techniques, different things he could do to get the most yield from his crop? And then let's ask the question, where did the field start? We can take the entire field and we can look at the previous seeds that were planted. That field was planted by seeds that had already come to be, that started from other seeds that came before them. And if we trace back the entire field, what we can find is that maybe the entire field came from a single row of seeds the year before. And then what about a row? Maybe that entire row came from a single stalk the year before that. And then what about that stalk? Maybe that stalk came from one seed the year before that. What am I getting at? Understanding the power of that entire field can all be traced back to one grandfather seed. Just like this grandfather seed, you represent the power to shift and change and create the financial literacy picture your students live the rest of their life with. They're going to go on to teach their sons, their daughters, the lessons that they're learning in your classroom as a result of your engagement, as a result of your care, as a result of your passion for their future. For most family consumer science teachers that I talk to and I have the privilege of learning from, They find that the passion is there, the diligence is there, but the vision of what they need to accomplish with financial literacy is blurred. How hard is it to navigate when maybe you wake up in the middle of the night, you're not all the way awake, and your vision is blurred? It can make things difficult. Some educators even struggle with the definition of what is financial literacy. So what we want to do is help bring greater vision, greater clarity to financial literacy and what that means to your classroom. Now, the goal of financial literacy is pretty simple to articulate and difficult to execute. What do I mean by that? Well, if you can't tell on camera, I'm about 5'10". Don't possess any amazing athletic ability, but I understand basketball. I understand what it takes to dunk a basketball. I can articulate and tell you exactly what you need to do to dunk a basketball. You grab the ball, you run really fast, you jump really high, and you throw the ball through the net. But my ability to execute dunking a basketball is impossible unless I'm busting out a step stool or I'm dunking on my little daughter's Nerf hoop. It's much more difficult to execute the vision sometimes than it is to just articulate the vision. So while we have our board resolution, while we have our curriculum, sometimes it feels like such a barrier to actually implement and execute the vision that we've created. Looking deeper into our approach, we actually want to create a financial literacy toolbox for you, that we become almost a clearinghouse resource for you to constantly reference through free information, free stuff, free resources that we'll create to help you in that journey. And that's the heart of our approach. Not just to create a webinar that you just have to watch, but create something that engages you, create something that adds value to you, create something that builds your confidence and lets you know that building that success for your students is completely possible. If you have questions regarding financial literacy, you'll see our contact information, and we want to make that available to you so you can contact us for any questions you have. We want to help you in your journey. We began asking questions from leaders at the Ohio Department of Education, from leaders at the State Treasurer's Office who originally created the legislation, from other leaders across the state, other educators across the country. So we come at this with a solution approach, not just problem identification, not just looking at, oh, here we are, but literally creating solutions that are easily applicable to you. Let me ask you a question. How has your preparation for financial literacy been completed? Most educators we talk to, it typically comes back pretty much the same. That because they don't necessarily know of the resources available, their day might look something like identify a topic, Google search, read over some materials, Google search a video, Google search some way to engage their students, compile that information, read through it, begin to cut, edit, add to the stuff you want, the stuff you don't want, until you actually condense everything down to one lesson plan for maybe a class period or two, or maybe an entire week's worth of class periods. And then you're sitting there looking at all that time that you spent just compiling a lesson plan. We want to help you avoid the laundry list complex, that if you're finding yourself spending a lot of time just researching material and not really prepping yourself to be successful in communicating that material, we want to help you walk through that. The ODE has actually outlined a topic list that is available for you that you can reference to let you know what topics are important to hit for financial literacy. Now, you might not feel 100% comfortable with investments, so what do you need? You need great resources available to you. We have lesson plans ready for you. We have materials ready for you that completely outline what you need. And if you're struggling with that, you can visit our website as a resource. There's some other great materials out there that we can direct you to, or there's some other great, helpful, free resources that we can make available to you. And what you're also finding as you go through financial literacy is you're seeing kind of the hot topic fade, that this once hot button that was in the news and in the media and gained a lot of attention and everything was very well reported on, very well resourced. People were communicating about it. People were really pushing the initiative. But it almost feels like the initiative has faded away. The importance of the attention on financial literacy has. And so we don't want to just ease off of financial literacy, because we have a sincere passion to see your students and yourself financially literate, financially successful, financially confident in decision making every day in everyday life situations. It is difficult to identify what success really looks like in financial literacy. And so we want to make available to you an online assessment. It's a secure assessment that is free for you. It's a great resource. You can use it as a pre and post assessment for your students to gauge their growth in financial literacy. Let's take a step back and look at where we think financial literacy will be 3 years from now. Where do you think it will be? Do you think it'll be more important, less important? Do you think there will be greater legislation, less legislation? What do you think will happen with the transition of financial literacy? Well, our heart, our passion is to see financial literacy grow, that the educators are more equipped to teach financial literacy, that students are experiencing that success at a personal level in their decision making, and they know what it feels like to be financially successful, that when they leave your class and the questions of life kind of go with them, that they'll have reference there, that they'll have confidence there, that they'll have a true knowledge, a true education of what financial literacy is. So how can you help create that in your classroom? Engagement is so important. Identifying ways that you can illustrate and engage your students on a deeper level, not just maybe asking a question and pulling from the student that raises their hand, but identifying ways that you can get the entire classroom involved in what you're teaching. Sometimes that looks like a helpful illustration, like inflation and deflation. Take a balloon, blow it up, let go, let it just fly all over the room, and communicate the risks, the dangers of deflation. Identifying those creative measures you can do to communicate these complex ideas of financial literacy. It's not easy explaining to a student what compound interest is, but just like our example of the seed, connecting that to a real life example of how compound interest grows over time and multiplies over time is helpful for them to connect real life to the financial literacy principle. What can the lifelong impact truly be on a student? What can your impact really be on their futures? We personally believe that through healthy financial literacy education, through equipped educators, through measurable assessments, through engaging materials, that students will actually be created and develop millionaire behavior in your classroom. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that every student will develop the life skills, the behaviors, the knowledge they need to begin living like a millionaire. Not some lavish lifestyle, but understanding how to budget, understanding what investments really mean to their future, understanding the value of their retirement plan that an employer might offer, building those concrete blocks that they need to build financial literacy. Let's begin to shape something together. Have you ever thought of the power of $360? That over the course of time, if that amount is invested And it can sit, even earning a low percentage rate, over 70 years, that $360 will grow to over $1 million. That's the power of financial literacy. That even in the student's lifetime, they might not hit that $1 million achievement, but guess what? They're more financially successful as a result. What does that mean for the next generation? That means that they're able to pour in some of that information, some of that money into their future. Now you look at the power of a student who's now an older adult who has the ability to set the financial future of their children because of the financial success they learned in your classroom. Wow, is that powerful? Wow, is that exciting to know that you're literally going to attack the number one cause of divorce in our country, money. Through greater financial health, you'll answer that money problem for them. Did you also know that millionaires have a 4% divorce rate? That as they get more financially healthy and they understand the power of making those decisions, that there's a ripple effect that happens in their decision-making process. And they will not just be more financially healthy in life, they'll be more healthy in life in every way. Over the last summer, we had a great opportunity to travel to Sofia, Bulgaria. It was an incredible trip. There's an American school over there that is open as an international school for all the students in that area. Now, Sofia, Bulgaria is the capital of Bulgaria. So there's a lot of embassies there. There's a lot of international students. And we were able to visit the school and see them implement financial literacy in an amazingly successful way. They had dynamics in their classroom that are completely unique. They had an American student sitting by an English student, sitting by a Greek student, sitting by an Iranian student, sitting by a Turkish student, all these different nationalities. And even deeper than that, different religions represented, different economic backgrounds represented, from a poor student who's there on scholarship and a rich student who's literally picked up by a driver and a security guard every day. What a dynamic classroom. And in this classroom, we got to see financial literacy be successful. So no matter what your scenario is, take that as a point of encouragement that you can create financial literacy success for your student in any classroom environment you face. And I think that helps us be more powerful. I think looking at the global view of what everybody's facing, what is going on around the globe, and bringing that to a personal application to us helps us have a greater understanding, greater perspective of what we have available to us here in Ohio. That successful financial literacy doesn't start with a principle or an illustration. It starts with communicating hope to those students, that they create a vision for their financial future that inspires them, that doesn't just get them to solve maybe a math equation, but gets them to understand that this is possible for me, that the situation I grew up in, I don't have to live in. I can improve my life. And not only that, but I can improve my life in such a way that I can leave a legacy for other people, that I can invest money in my community, that I can give to charities, that my children can come up, be raised, and not understand the same financial challenges that I had to face. That is inspiring. And that is the core, that is the passion, that is what we believe. And that is what we want to help you accomplish. So what are some ways that you can accomplish that? I would say identifying a pre and post assessment, something that's useful to you, helpful to you, that you can get your students engaged on so you can measure that success. Getting them engaged on a deeper level, having them go from the principle to application so they understand how to calculate a debt payment. But what does that mean for them and the budget that they expect? They understand that they have to get a job and make money, but do they understand the relationship between earnings potential and their education? Pulling in that engagement, creating that hope, will allow the principles and the content that you teach to be powerful. Just like that field needs toil, just like the dirt needs turned over and prepared, you're going to begin to turn over and prepare the palette, the canvas, the heart of these students to receive this information. Our hope is that you're feeling more confident. You're beginning to feel that hope. and you're feeling inspired to bring financial literacy success in a greater way. What are some things that you can do as a result of that? Well, we actually have a list of financial literacy intro videos that can be free and accessed available to you. You can just stream them, you can just download them, you can do anything you want with them to create a greater engagement. It's so much fun for a student to just almost switch it up in the smallest of ways. Just throw in a curveball. Or maybe you can pull in professionals from your community. What you'll also find is they can typically speak very direct and with way more clarity to a principal because they are a professional in that concept. And what we found is we've reached out to other professionals that they're completely approachable and helpful in this process. That you could have maybe an insurance agent come in to your classroom and share about insurance. That you could contact a local bank and have a bank professional come in and talk about some of the banking tools they have. Local entrepreneurs love getting behind financial literacy. Contacting a business owner in your area, inviting them to come in and talk about what it took to build that successful business, what it takes to create that financial success, not only personally, but in a business setting, to the point where you're creating more jobs and more financial success for other people. Now, if you would, in your mind, go back to your cornfield. But let's pretend it's years prior and nothing has touched that field. That there is no corn, it is just a blank canvas of dirt. And in your hand, in the palm of your hand, you have one corn seed. Let me ask you a question. What will that seed create? It'll create one stalk of corn. It won't create an apple tree, won't create a grapevine. It'll create a corn stalk. You're going to duplicate who you are. That the DNA of who you are as a professional and as an educator and your approach to financial literacy is going to be mimicked and modeled and duplicated in your students. So again, look at that seed in your hand and translate it to your heart, your passion, your knowledge, the content you're going to be delivering, how you engage them, how you measure their success. And then ask yourself the question, is this something I want to duplicate over my entire field? So are there small adjustments that you can identify that will make that seed greater in its duplication, more healthy in its ability to connect with a student? Now that you've duplicated that seed and your field is populated with all this wonderful corn, and you're looking back and you're standing there enjoying your success, ask yourself the question, are you feeling successful? Sometimes understanding why we don't feel successful is as easy as asking ourselves the question, what are we trying to accomplish? That in your classroom, you need to identify what you want to accomplish, not just try to navigate kind of the muck that has been financial literacy, but clearly identifying what your goals, what your vision are for that class period, whether you're teaching financial literacy as a standalone class or over an entire semester or whatever your unique situation is, that you identify what do I clearly want to achieve in the time available with my students. And that'll help you feel that success, that you're hitting that benchmark, you're hitting that goal. And we actually have some stuff mapped out for you that we can share with you and we can send you that will help you identify how you can be successful. What are some of those topics? How do we strategize that? How do we engage that? And you can contact us and we will gladly send you that information. Take a student in Cincinnati and maybe a student in Cleveland. Let's say they both receive financial literacy and they both take a test on financial literacy. But let's say the student in Cincinnati receives a comprehensive, over an entire semester course on financial literacy. And the student in Cleveland learns some foundational elements, maybe over a 2-week class period. And they both take an assessment that's unique to their scenario. What happens? Well, maybe the Cincinnati student takes that comprehensive test and does well. Maybe they get like an 85% because some of those harder principles are hard to understand. And then let's take the Cleveland student who took fairly foundational exam assessment where they had to, balance a checkbook and do some very simple applications, and they get 100%. Stepping back, looking at those two test scores, we would say the student in Cleveland is more financially literate. But how can we ensure that without a common measure? So finding a comprehensive assessment that works for you is important. Also finding materials that engage you and your student. What's going to keep pulling them in? That every day when you go before your students in the classroom, that you feel confident that you're going to be able to have something there, a tool there that you can pull them in. And then the final piece is obviously the training and the professional development you need. That even if you feel well versed, it's always good to get greater input, greater resource, greater investment into what you're doing. Getting around the collaborative group of people that are doing this, if you're going to be able to pick from, oh, that person's doing that, I love that, I'm going to kind of borrow that and implement that in my classroom. And guess what? Other educators need to hear from you. So being involved in trainings and professional development are hugely important to your success. It's going to keep you on the front page of what's happening regarding financial literacy. Not just identifying what you need to do, we've identified some resources we can help remove off your plate. We have some engagement techniques available. We have the online videos available. We actually have an online secure assessment available that you can use free of use that are available to you. You just need to contact us. And if you need to contact us, you can contact us through the information provided on the screen, and we will be more than happy to get some of those free resources to you. Now, as a result, we also have some resources that are available for purchase, full teacher manuals, full student manuals that walk you through 16 lessons, the entire financial literacy scope of what a student will need, that when they leave your classroom, they will have a complete picture, a complete foundation of what they can do to create their financial literacy success. Thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. We hope that you found value in it. We hope you are greater encouraged to teach financial literacy. We hope you have greater confidence, and we look forward to partnering with you and growing and advancing the financial literacy initiative in the state of Ohio.